There's a moment in everyone's spiritual journey when a simple verse you've heard your entire life suddenly feels different. It hits deeper. It awakens something inside you. For me, that moment happened the first time I truly sat with the verse, "Ask, and it shall be given to you." I had read it. I had heard it preached. I had even repeated it to others. But deep down, I didn't believe it worked for me. Maybe you felt that too. Maybe you've prayed for money to stretch, for doors to open, for a burden to lift, and nothing seemed to change. Maybe you wondered the same thing I did. Is there something I'm missing? Am I doing this wrong? I used to think it was just a poetic phrase, beautiful, hopeful, comforting, but not practical. I thought, if asking really leads to receiving, why do so many prayers feel unanswered? It wasn't until years later that I discovered something Jesus actually explained. A detail that almost no one teaches. A principle that completely reshaped the way I pray and the way I experience financial breakthroughs in my own life. Because Jesus didn't just say ask. He described how to ask. He didn't just say knock. He revealed the kind of knock heaven responds to. And once you understand this, once you understand the spiritual frequency of prayer, doors begin to open faster, clearer, and in ways you couldn't imagine before. Your finances shift. Your opportunities shift. Your relationships shift. Even your sense of peace changes. But I didn't start there. In the beginning, I approached prayer the way most people unknowingly do. From a place of fear, lack, anxiety, and desperation. Have you ever prayed like that? Prayed because you were scared of losing something? Prayed because the bill was due tomorrow? Prayed because you were drowning in debt and didn't know where to turn? If that's you, pause for a moment. Because what I'm about to tell you could be the most important spiritual lesson you hear this year. Jesus warned us not to pray like people who pray for attention, or performance, or fear. He said there is a specific way to pray. A way that aligns us with God's frequency. A way that shifts us from wanting to receiving. And that language, God's language, is not English. It's not Spanish. It's not any human language. God speaks frequency. God responds to alignment. This was the turning point for me. When you call someone on your phone, you're not talking through your voice alone. You're connecting through a specific frequency. If you dial the wrong number, the message never reaches the person you meant to speak to. Prayer works exactly the same way. You can be speaking all the right words. You can pray with passion. You can quote scripture. But if you're dialing the wrong spiritual frequency, the message doesn't land where you think it's going. Imagine trying to call your father. But instead of dialing his number, you accidentally dial an old, toxic ex who drained you emotionally. Your intention is good, but the connection is wrong. That's what many people unknowingly do in prayer. They want abundance, but they pray from scarcity. They want peace, but they pray from anxiety. They want debt to break, but they pray from fear. They want wealth, but they pray from a mindset shaped by lack. And heaven doesn't respond to the language of lack. This is why the Bible says, "To those who have, more will be given. But from those who do not have, even what they have will be taken away." For years, I thought that verse sounded harsh. But it wasn't harsh. It was revealing a spiritual law. We don't attract what we want. We attract what we are aligned with. If you pray from desperation, you align with desperation. If you pray from worry, you align with worry. If you pray from emptiness, you align with emptiness. And here's where everything changes. When you pray from a state of having, you align with abundance. When you pray from gratitude, you align with blessing. When you pray from faith, you align with miracles. This is why Jesus said, "Believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Not after you receive it. Not when you receive it. Believe you already have it. This is the key most people miss. This is the secret knock. This is the code that opens the spiritual door. As I began to understand this, Something else became clear. Many people want financial breakthroughs, but they pray from a financial wound. They ask for money while feeling unworthy of it. They ask for abundance while expecting struggle. They ask for provision while believing internally that things will probably stay the same. That mismatch keeps the door shut. And maybe no one has ever explained this to you. Maybe your entire life you were taught to pray from desperation, from begging, from fear. But Jesus didn't teach that. He taught alignment. And I want to ask you something. Answer it quietly in your heart. Do you pray like someone who has already received? Or someone who is scared they never will? If you're willing to be honest, that question alone can transform your prayer life. Because heaven responds to the frequency of thankfulness, not the frequency of panic. It responds to the frequency of faith. Not the frequency of fear. It responds to the frequency of abundance. Not the frequency of lack. And here's something powerful you need to hear. You're not praying to get God's attention. You're praying to align your spirit with the abundance He already placed in your future. If you're reading this and it resonates, if you've been praying for financial stability, clarity, or a breakthrough, leave a simple act of faith in the comments. I'm ready for alignment. Just typing those words shifts your heart into agreement, because many of your financial struggles are not the result of laziness or failure, but misalignment. And once alignment is corrected, everything begins to change. Asterisk, the deeper I went into this teaching, the more I realized something that shook me. Most people aren't praying incorrectly because they lack faith. They're praying incorrectly because they were taught incorrectly. We inherited prayer habits from people who were also struggling, also confused, also trying to figure out why nothing seemed to shift in their lives. Generations of believers passed down the words of prayer, but not the frequency of prayer. And frequency is everything. Think about it this way. If you walked into a room where someone is angry, you feel it instantly, even before they speak. If you walk into a room where someone is joyful, you sense it without a word. Human emotion radiates energy, and that energy is the greatest communicator. God responds the same way. He doesn't respond to the speech. He responds to the state. He responds to the alignment of the heart. This is why Jesus said, "Enter your closet and shut the door." Many people think he meant a physical room, but he was talking about eliminating every external noise, every emotional distraction, every fear-based thought, and coming into a state where you're no longer begging the world to change, but becoming the change inside of yourself. Because before a door opens around you, a door must open within you. This inner alignment is what unlocks financial breakthroughs, healed relationships, restored identity, and favor that you can't explain to anyone. Not because you earned it, but because you aligned with it. Let me explain it in a way that finally made sense to me. Your life is shaped by the frequency you pray from, not the frequency you wish from, not the frequency you hope from. The frequency you pray from. You can pray for abundance while internally vibrating lack. You can pray for peace while internally vibrating anxiety. You can pray for wealth while internally vibrating fear of poverty. That contradiction creates spiritual static, and static clouds the signal. Think of it like a radio. If you tune even slightly off the correct station, you don't hear music, you hear noise. A lot of believers today are praying from noise, not clarity. And it's not their fault, it's what they were taught. But Jesus spoke repeatedly about inner alignment because he knew something crucial. Prayer is not about convincing God. Prayer is about calibrating yourself. Let that sink in. God is not reluctant to bless you. He's not holding back opportunities. He's not deciding whether you deserve provision. The blessings already exist. The favor already exists. The breakthrough already exists. The financial doors already exist. They are not waiting for God's decision. They are waiting for your alignment. And when I finally understood this, something else clicked. This is exactly why people with a poverty mindset stay stuck. and why people who cultivate a covenant mindset begin to rise. A poverty mindset prays from fear. A covenant mindset prays from trust. A poverty mindset prays from I need. A covenant mindset prays from I have access. A poverty mindset prays from emptiness. A covenant mindset prays from promise. And if you're honest, maybe no one ever taught you how to shift from one to the other. You might have prayed your entire life, but prayed from the wrong emotional frequency. Not because you're weak, but because you were never taught the real method. Jesus described. And if you've ever wondered why some people pray, and nothing changes while others pray, and everything changes, this is the reason. Let me share something personal that opened my eyes. I once had a close friend who kept entering toxic relationships. Good-hearted, loving, generous, but always attracting people who drained her emotionally. At first, she thought she had bad luck. Then she thought she needed to pray harder. Then she thought something was wrong with her, but nothing changed. Because she kept praying from the same inner frequency of loneliness and fear of abandonment. And the energy you pray from is the energy you attract. What you radiate is what returns. And it's the same in finances. If you pray for money while feeling terrified of not having enough, your frequency is lack. If you pray for a financial breakthrough while believing deep down that life has always been hard for you, your frequency is struggle. If you pray for debt to be erased while emotionally expecting more bills, more pressure, more instability, your frequency is fear. This is why so many believers spend years praying without seeing a change. They aren't doing less than the people who receive breakthroughs. They're simply misaligned, because God cannot answer the prayer you're praying from fear. By giving you something that requires faith, He cannot pour abundance into the frequency of lack. He cannot release overflow into a mindset still shaped by scarcity. He cannot elevate someone who is internally holding on to the belief that they were born to struggle. This is why Jesus taught that when you pray, believe that you have already received it. Not believe that it's coming someday. Not believe that if you're good enough, it will arrive. Not believe that maybe God will do it if He feels like it. No, believe it is already yours, because that belief shifts your frequency. And your frequency opens the door. Now here's where it gets even deeper. When Jesus said, "Enter the closet," He meant entering a spiritual dimension where you leave behind the external world, the bills, the deadlines, the fear, the past failures, and step into the reality where your blessing already exists. In that inner space, you are no longer praying to receive. You are praying from the reality of already having. You are not asking from lack, you are thanking from abundance. You are not begging God to do something. You are aligning with something God already established. And the moment you shift into that inner reality, heaven recognizes your signal. You move from earthly fear to divine frequency, from survival mode to receiving mode, from chaos to clarity. And I want you to take a moment, even right now, to reflect on this. When was the last time you prayed from gratitude instead of need? When was the last time you prayed from identity instead of anxiety? When was the last time you prayed from "it is done" instead of "please let it happen"? If you're honest, the shift might surprise you. And if you feel this speaking directly to your spirit, let me know in the comments by writing, "I'm ready for my shift." Because acknowledging it is the first step of alignment. This is how you prepare your heart for the blessing that has been waiting for you all along. Asterisk. There comes a point in your spiritual growth where the idea of praying correctly stops being theoretical and becomes deeply personal. It's the moment you finally understand that prayer is not something you perform, but something you enter into. And this is where Jesus introduces one of the most misunderstood instructions in the entire Bible. Enter your closet and shut the door. For years, people imagined a small physical room, some prayer space, a dark corner of a house. But Jesus wasn't talking about real estate. He was talking about a state of consciousness. A spiritual environment inside you that you can step into anytime, even in a crowded room. Even in noise, even in chaos. Your inner closet is the place where the physical world loses power over you, and the spiritual world becomes more real than your circumstances. And this changes everything, because once you're in that space, you're no longer praying from the version of yourself that's scared, overwhelmed, behind on bills, or drowning in responsibilities. You're not praying as the person who's waiting for a breakthrough. You're praying as the person who already carries it. In that inner closet, the rules shift. Time shifts. Identity shifts. Your emotional frequency recalibrates. You stop thinking like someone seeking survival and start thinking like someone aligned with divine abundance. This is why Jesus said to shut the door. You're not shutting the world out, you're shutting out the version of yourself that is still connected to the old frequency. When you enter truly, the fear stays outside, the debt stays outside, the stress stays outside, the scarcity mindset stays outside. The door closes and you step into the reality where your prayer is already done. Let's go deeper into this. When you visualize something in your mind, you're not imagining it. You're tuning into the spiritual frequency where that blessing already exists. This is why Jesus didn't tell you to hope. He told you to believe. Hope waits. Belief receives. Hope looks toward the future. Belief reaches into the invisible and claims it now. So when you enter your inner closet, you're doing something extremely important. You're stepping into the version of yourself who already received the blessing. You become the version of you who is out of debt. You become the version of you who has financial peace. You become the version of you who walks in clarity, not confusion. You become the version of you who has overflow, not fear. You become the version of you who knows that God is for you, not distant, not ignoring you, not delaying anything. Hear me clearly. God is not developing your blessing. He is developing you into someone who can hold it. That is what entering the inner closet does. Now, let me show you what this looks like in practice. When you come into this inner space and shut the door, you begin by silencing the voice of lack. The voice that says, things never work out for me. I'm always behind. I'll never catch up. My finances always slip through my fingers. I don't deserve abundance. Those voices are not yours. They're echoes from a past season that God is trying to deliver you from. And if those voices follow you into prayer, your frequency remains misaligned. This is why many people pray and nothing happens, because they never enter the inner closet. They pray from the hallway, with the noise of anxiety still surrounding them. They pray from the doorstep, half in faith, half in fear. They pray from the edge, where their old identity is still speaking louder than their new one. But real prayer, the kind that shifts finances, opens doors, restores families, breaks generational patterns, and pulls blessings out of the invisible into your physical life, comes from the frequency of already having. Let me make this even more practical. When you enter the inner closet and shut the door, you deliberately activate the emotional state of already receiving. You visualize the debt being wiped. You feel the relief as if it already happened. You sense the peace of knowing you are fully provided for. You feel gratitude vibrating in your chest. You experience joy rising inside you, not because you wish things would get better, but because in that moment, you are standing in the spiritual version of your answered prayer. This emotional shift is the real secret knock. It's the code Jesus referenced when he said, "Believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Not believe that you will receive it someday. Not believe it if it seems realistic. Not believe it once you see signs. No. Believe that you already have it, because emotion is frequency, and frequency is language, and language is connection. God doesn't move according to your fear. He moves according to your alignment. This is why Once you enter that inner closet, you must hold the emotion of having. Even before your bank account reflects it, your senses will try to pull you back. Your logic will try to pull you back. Your memories of past struggles will try to pull you back. That's why the door must be shut. You're shutting the door on doubt. You're shutting the door on insecurity. You're shutting the door on the voice that says you'll always struggle. You're shutting the door on the mindset that convinces you your prayer is too big. And in that room, you are free to pray from gratitude, which is the highest spiritual frequency there is. Gratitude is the language of receivers. Lack is the language of beggars. Gratitude says, "It is done." Fear says, "I hope it happens." Gratitude says, "I already have access." Lack says, "I don't know if I deserve this." Gratitude opens the door. Fear keeps it shut. This inner closet is the spiritual place where your identity changes first, and then your circumstances follow. Before your finances shift, your frequency shifts. Before your opportunities open, your alignment opens. Before your debt breaks, your mindset breaks free. God always transforms the inside before the outside, because the outside is just a reflection of the inner world. And if you're reading this and feeling something stirring in your spirit, that's alignment beginning. Take a moment right now and write in the comments, "I'm stepping into my inner closet," because your declaration is part of the transformation. You are not begging God for scraps. You are aligning with the abundance He already prepared for you. And in the next block, I'm going to show you how gratitude becomes the force that magnetizes wealth, opportunity, clarity, and supernatural financial shifts into your life, not by magic, but by spiritual law. If there is one spiritual principle that has the power to reshape your entire financial life from the inside out, it is the principle of gratitude. Not the kind of gratitude that waits for something good to happen, but the kind of gratitude that creates the good before it shows up. This is the dimension of gratitude Jesus was pointing to. It's a gratitude that isn't reactive, it's creative. It generates blessing. It generates alignment. It generates breakthrough. When Jesus said, "I thank you, Father, that you hear me," He said it before the miracle happened, before the situation changed, before anything visible confirmed that the prayer was answered. He wasn't thanking God for what he was seeing. He was thanking God for what he was aligned with. And this is the part of prayer most believers miss, especially believers who struggle financially. They pray from lack. They wait from fear. They complain from stress, and then wonder why nothing changes. But what you must understand deeply is this: gratitude is the emotional frequency of abundance. Complaining is the emotional frequency of lack, and the two cannot exist at the same time. Cannot vibrate gratitude and lack simultaneously. You will always align with one or the other. This is why gratitude is the highest spiritual frequency. It is the closest emotional energy to faith. It is the emotional language of already having. Abundance speaks gratitude. Lack speaks panic. Let me show you how this plays out in daily life, especially with money. When you're drowning in bills and you pray for help from a place of fear, your frequency is, "I do not have." When you pray for a financial miracle but internally expect the next problem to appear, your frequency is, "I am lacking." When you ask God for abundance while emotionally preparing for the worst, your frequency is, "I am without." And heaven cannot deposit abundance into the emotional container of lack. Jesus explained this with the metaphor of new wine and old wineskins. You cannot pour new blessing into an old mindset. Gratitude is the new wineskin. It's the emotional structure capable of holding abundance. And here's the part that transformed my own financial life. Gratitude is not something you feel after the breakthrough. Gratitude is the frequency that unlocks the breakthrough. Think of it this way: if lack is a locked door, gratitude is the key. If debt is a heavy chain, Gratitude is the tool that breaks it. If financial stress is a fog, gratitude is the light that cuts through it, and this is not positive thinking. This is spiritual law. Let me show you how that every time you choose gratitude, genuine, emotional gratitude, you send out a vibration into the spiritual atmosphere that says, I already have. I am aligned with blessing. I am tuned to abundance. I am connected to provision that already exists. Do you see the power of that? Because if you think about it, the opposite is also true. Every time you complain, every time you speak lack, every time you rehearse fear, every time you dwell on what's missing, every time you talk about never having enough, you vibrate the opposite frequency. I don't have. I'm disconnected. I'm out of alignment. I'm tuned to struggle. And the spiritual world responds accordingly. This is why people who complain always have more to complain about, because they are tuned to that frequency. And people who cultivate gratitude always receive more to be grateful for, because they are aligned with that frequency. This is what Jesus meant when he said, to those who have, more will be given. But from those who do not have, even what they have will be taken away. He wasn't talking about physical possession. He was talking about emotional frequency. Those who vibrate, I have, receive more. Those who vibrate, I do not have, lose even what they think they have. Gratitude is I have. Fear is I don't. Let's bring this deeper into your financial life. People struggling with debt often develop a subconscious emotional attachment to lack. They carry the frequency of shame, the frequency of stress, the frequency of fear, the frequency of never enough, the frequency of exhaustion, the frequency of survival mode, and that emotional state becomes a spiritual magnet. Here's the hard truth that I wish someone had explained to me years ago. Debt is not just a financial issue. Debt is a spiritual frequency. Once it attaches to your identity, it reproduces itself. You can earn more and still feel poor. You can get raises and still feel behind. You can pay off debt and still recreate new debt, because the internal frequency never shifted. This is why gratitude is so powerful. It doesn't just change your circumstances. It changes you. Gratitude rewrites your internal financial identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to escape debt and start seeing yourself as someone aligned with abundance. Stop seeing yourself as someone barely surviving and start seeing yourself as someone destined to prosper. You stop identifying as a struggler and start identifying as a receiver. This shift is everything, because before God erases debt around you, He erases the belief of debt within you. Before God places abundance in your hands, He places abundance in your mindset. Before God gives you the opportunity, He builds the capacity. Gratitude is the tool He uses to expand you. Let me give you a simple but life-changing example. If you wake up in the morning and your first thoughts are, I'm behind. I hope nothing goes wrong today. I'm drowning. I don't know how I'll make it. You've already tuned your frequency before the day begins. But if you wake up and say, thank you, God, that provision is already on its way. Thank you that doors are opening even if I can't see them yet. Thank you that my debt is being wiped out by divine alignment. Thank you that I walk in abundance, not fear. You realign your entire atmosphere. That's the spiritual version of planting seeds. Every thought is a seed. Every emotion is a seed. Every prayer is a seed. Every word is a seed. And gratitude is the seed that grows the fastest. Gratitude turns the soil of your heart into fertile ground. Gratitude accelerates growth. Gratitude uproots weeds of doubt and scarcity. This is why when gratitude becomes your emotional home, your entire financial life begins to reflect the shift. You attract opportunities you didn't see before. You notice blessings you used to overlook. You stop accepting low-level situations. You begin making decisions aligned with abundance. You walk differently. You talk differently. You pray differently. You expect differently. And as your expectation shifts, your reality follows. Because expectation is a form of faith. And gratitude fuels expectation. If you're feeling this in your spirit right now, if you can feel that inner awakening, write this in the comments as an act of alignment. I choose gratitude over fear. Because when your heart makes that declaration, heaven responds instantly. Asterisk, as you reach this final part of the message, I want you to pause and recognize something deeply spiritual. You are not the same person who started listening to this. Your awareness has shifted. Your frequency has shifted. Your prayer life has shifted. Your relationship with abundance has shifted. Somewhere between the beginning of this teaching and now, your spirit woke up. Something inside you said, yes, this is what I've been missing. This is what I've been searching for. Before we close, I want to walk you through a final activation, one that aligns your inner world, your emotional frequency, and your spiritual identity with the abundance God already prepared for you. Because prayer is not just asking. Prayer is stepping into your role as someone who is already connected to divine provision. And that identity, that spiritual posture, is what determines what flows into your life. Let's begin here. Every blessing God has for you already exists. You're not praying for God to start working on something. You're praying to align with what He already finished. This is why Jesus rarely prayed long prayers. He prayed prayers of certainty, clarity, and alignment. He prayed from the identity of someone who knew he was heard. And this same confidence is available to you. But confidence is not a personality trait. It is a frequency. It's the frequency of someone who knows God is with me. God is guiding me. God is providing for me. God is opening doors for me. God is not late. God is not silent. God is not distant. He is here. When you pray from that reality, your entire life begins to transform. And here's the truth that no one teaches. You cannot hold both fear and abundance at the same time. One will always overpower the other. This is why the inner work you've done in these last blocks matters so much. You learned how prayer actually works, how frequency determines manifestation, how entering your inner closet changes everything, how gratitude opens the spiritual door to abundance, how to pray from identity instead of fear, how to break the internal patterns that kept you stuck in cycles of lack. And now, in this final block, we take it one step further. We anchor your identity in the spiritual truth that abundance is not something you are chasing. It is something you are aligned with. Let me tell you something that may surprise you. The breakthrough you're praying for is closer than you think. Not because it is rushing toward you, but because you are finally moving into the frequency where it already exists. You are not pulling the blessing down. You are rising up to meet it. And once you rise, nothing and no one can stop what God has aligned for you. Let's talk about your finances. Because for many people, this is where faith gets tested the most. Money is emotional. Debt is emotional. Provision is emotional. And whatever is emotional becomes spiritual. This is why your relationship with money is never just financial. It is deeply tied to your sense of worth, your sense of safety, your sense of identity, the environment you grew up in, the beliefs you inherited, the patterns you subconsciously repeat, the stories you tell yourself, the way you interpret challenges, the way you perceive opportunity. Money is not neutral. It responds to the frequency of the person holding it. And this is exactly why the correct form of prayer, the form Jesus described, has the power to shift your financial life more than any strategy, job, investment, or effort. Because strategy manages money, but alignment magnetizes it. This is why some people receive opportunities that seem random or lucky. It's not luck. It is spiritual resonance. Once your internal frequency matches the frequency of abundance, you begin attracting what belongs to your new identity. Offers start coming. Ideas start flowing. People begin showing up. Doors you didn't even know existed start opening. And situations that used to overwhelm you begin to break. Not because you became more qualified, but because you became more aligned. And if you've been listening closely, I want you to hear this part with your spirit. God never intended for you to live your entire life in financial stress. He never intended for you to be defined by debt. He never intended for you to constantly struggle. He never created you for survival mode. The struggle you've experienced is not your identity. It is the result of misalignment. And now that you are learning to align correctly, everything begins to change. Let me lead you through the closing activation. Before we end this message, close your eyes for a moment. Breathe slowly and deeply. Allow your body to relax. Let your shoulders release. Let your chest open. Let your jaw loosen. Now imagine yourself standing in your inner closet, the place where the physical world cannot follow you. Imagine shutting the door and feeling every worry stay outside. In this inner space, see yourself, debt-free, calm, centered, covered, protected, provided for, aligned, abundant, confident, safe in God's plan. Feel the version of you who already has the breakthrough. Feel the peace. Feel the relief. Feel the gratitude. Let a quiet smile rise in your heart as you feel the truth. I already have it. It is already mine. God already prepared it. This emotional shift is not imagination. It is alignment. And right here, in this moment, you are aligning with the frequency of answered prayer. This is why Jesus said, believe that you have received it. Not will receive it. Already have it. This is how mountains move. This is how debt breaks. This is how abundance flows. This is how lives transform. Before we close, I want to invite you to anchor this transformation publicly, with a declaration that connects your heart to your new identity. If this message spoke to you, if you felt alignment, awakening, or clarity, write this in the comments. I received my breakthrough with gratitude. This one sentence carries the frequency of answered prayer. Say it as you write it. Feel it as you write it. Own it as you write it. Because the moment you do, heaven aligns with your declaration. You are stepping into a new season, not by chance, not by luck, but by alignment. And from this day forward, may your prayers rise from faith, not fear. May your heart speak the language of gratitude. May your spirit walk in the frequency of abundance. May your finances align with divine order. May your steps be guided into God-shaped opportunities. May your home be filled with peace and clarity. And may this be the season where you finally say, God answered me.